Yo, boys and girls, good morning. Welcome in, welcome in. How are we all doing? We are well. Why does my flipping Spotify go crazy? I don't know. Happy Pizza Day. It is Pizza Day indeed. It is Pizza Day indeed. Can we? What is this random? Chase and status, play the tune. Play the tune. There we go. There we go. Well, stupid tunes doing stupid things. How are we all doing, boys and girls? Are we good? What did we think of the roadmap yesterday? I was, mostly of the opinion that they didn't tell us anything. This is another one of those things where Blizzard is, this wasn't a community thing. This was a marketing thing. And it was very clear. This was clearly a marketing thing. They didn't really tell us anything. Like, nice slide, little info. The prop hunt mode, kind of funny. Liked the idea of the prop hunt mode. Labyrinths is interesting conceptually. Sounds like Mega Delves. Which was somewhat of a... I knew we were going to get there. I'm still waiting on the day that there's actually a solo raid. And I don't mean solo raid by there's one raid boss. I mean a solo raid in terms of it's a single player challenge, Mage Tower style, that is to be done solo. Where, you know, it is actually difficult, mechanically difficult, maybe rather than boss has lots of health, does lots of damage difficult. Doggos? It's crazy town in here this morning, by the way. Absolute crazy town. Absolute crazy town in here. Do you want to see something interesting? You remember the advent calendar, boys and girls? I know I didn't do much of the advent calendar on stream in the end. I went and had some breakfast this morning. And I came back and this is what I found. Yes. This is all of the little boxes of the calendar, not for Amland. Trashed. Destroyed. In about 500 pieces. Because these dogs are being chaos today. Went in with low expectations and got exactly nothing. Yeah, it was so marketing. It was so marketing it hurt. Housing though, man. Oh my god. They have put all their eggs in the housing basket, haven't they? I think the housing has so far been a reasonably good success. Not only from a goal-making perspective, obviously, but like it will be a big thing. But oh my god, they are absolutely banking on housing carrying Midnight. It feels because they're not willing to tell us anything. There doesn't really seem to be much outside of what you'd absolutely expect. It's gonna be an interesting one. Will you be a WoW ambassador? I saw that. And there's like that also it just smells funny to me. It just smells funny. There's something about it that smells funny. It feels flipping. It feels very. Haven't we seen this before? It feels community council. Extra work without any reward. I don't know. It feels community council-esque, again, this WoW ambassador thing. Now, if it's simply a way to If it's simply a way to drive connections between communities in WoW, I don't see anything wrong with it particularly. But I don't know. Don't know how I feel about it so far. We'll see. Today though, why is my music keep? I don't know what's going on with the volume. Why is Spotify all of a sudden having? Have I not got volume normalization switched on? What is going on? Why are some tracks 5 times louder than others all of a sudden? Oh, I bet I know what it is. I bet it's because I download Spotify in like lossless mode. I bet some tracks that are in lossless are at a completely different decibel level than the others. Crossfade, no. No, oh, normalized volume is on. I don't know, whatever. It's going weird. If the tunes end up blasting or end up being too quiet, boys and girls, let me know. Obviously, Team YouTube, this doesn't, you don't care. What the fuck with US servers? What's going on with US servers? I don't know. What's going on there? No sales today? I haven't looked yet. I need to do the sales. That's the first thing on my list this morning. Is to relist everything and see what goes. We can do a little bit of that while we chat about other things. You up here. Oh, hang on. Let's not move these about while everything's happening. US servers have been pooping themselves all morning. Have they really? What, they just laggy or what? People's characters disappearing? Ooh, that's an odd one. It's not what you want. That's not what you want. Right, let's have a look, see if we sold anything then, shall we? Looked at your cam, noticed the Murloc. The first thing that came to mind was nice new toy for the dogs until I saw it was the Twitch drop. It does kind of look as if it's a toy, doesn't it? Yeah. Good spot. Right, let's fire through these nice and quick. 22k on this realm. 20k again. Keeps the 10k per realm average up nice. Anybody who has inactive WoW accounts can play for free this month. Yeah, I noticed that as well. It's play for free weekend, isn't it? Which is cool. I think there is some restrictions on that, though. You have to have had game time on the account previously to qualify for play for free. Oh, dear Lord. Hang on. Please hold. Dog's been sick on the floor. Oh, flipping hell, boys and girls. Don't want to bother trying some days. Lord have mercy. Welcome in though. Chris, good morning to you. I don't know what I was saying there. Why do dogs always choose to throw up? Not on the floor that's easy to clean, but in the middle of a rug. Why do they do that? You're gonna be hungry later, Nips and Bears. Lost your breakfast there, girl. No, the dogs are. They're just sometimes it happens, and they run around. They flipping bounce around after eating breakfast, and imagine if you ate dinner and then went on a trampoline. Not really surprising. Oh yeah, the free weekend thing. Yeah, you've got to have had game time, I think, on the account to be able to log it back on. One thing I'm tempted to do though is to jump onto my account that has my what was a level 70 Twink Demon Hunter, and at least level him up to 80 now. Because 80 will be the new non-midnight account Twink level. Whether it will be possible to get any good gear on, like I'm almost tempted to level up that Demon Hunter and then blast a bit of gearing on him. Not that he'll be like totally twinked out, mind, but 70 twinks with some OP early leveling gear was the play. It might not be a terrible idea to level him up this weekend. I also thought, I don't know if this is absolute madness. But I'm half tempted to spin up my NA account. I don't know. My YouTube brain is I'm getting the YouTube bug again, which is good. We need to get the YouTube bug at the moment. I'm half tempted to spin up my NA account and do a little lumbering to midnight kind of adventure on it. Because my NA account has nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. It's got the War Within. It's got the Long Boy. But outside of that, it's got basically nothing. I'm tempted to try and lumber my way to midnight on the NA account. I just don't know if it's a smart idea with just how much I probably could and should be doing on the midnight beta right now. But it would certainly showcase to people just how much gold is still in flipping lumbering. The NA80 teacher, well, that's never happening. Come on, have a word. Have a word. That's never happening, but mostly because I would kind of quite like to get my NA account up and running just for the purpose of like actually having some gold on NA. I have the NA account. It seems silly not to have any gold on NA. I don't know if it'll end up being far too much of a distraction though when I've got leveling guides and flipping build guides to put together, and midnight Goblin Guide to Midnight is not finished yet. I really need to get at least a early access version of that available for the Patreons. I feel that's kind of almost my duty, you know. Once an expansion, you tell us about the NA account plan and then just never do it. Well, you know, shit's busy. I get bogged down. As soon as midnight actually launches, though, it'll be, you know, gangbuster, all go, go, go. I don't know. I'm clearly just putting too much on my plate at the moment. What about the 121 gear? We get everything except trinkets. Any good idea for trinkets? Of trinkets of any reasonable item level, I'd have no idea. Can you not just go run an LFR run and get the token things and trade them in for a piece of gear? What's the restriction on buying the, the 3 coin things, or is that not a thing anymore? I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I've got really no idea what the gearing path or even the gameplay loop is in retail properly at the moment. But I would fathom a guess there is some sort of end-of-season boosty kind of token to collect that can be traded in for something shiny, right? Or was that not a thing this season? I'm not sure. Let me do the calculations for you. About 4 weeks until midnight, 1 week for beta, 1 week for your Goblin Guide, 1 week for YouTube content, 1 week for chilling before release. Where do you find time for the NA adventure? Would you like to be my manager? Because you seem to have a grip on my life better than I do right now. That's probably, you're actually probably right there. You're probably right there. Yeah, where are the extra hours in the day to fit in a adventure? I don't know. You're probably right there. Kill all of the rares, get the champion warbound gear, just do the pre-patch event. Yeah, it's trinkets though. There's no trinkets available, which is the thing. So you're going to end up with like 2 empty slots. Can't you buy like Mythic Plus trinkets with some weekly coin thing? Surely I haven't made that up, right? Surely that's a thing. Do delves buy trinkets? Easy. Probably. Yeah. There's the delve vendor thing, isn't it? Yeah, maybe delves. I don't know. It's a good point, though. The free weekend already active. Doesn't log me in on old accounts. I don't know if it is. Technically, my main account's run out of game time. But it's still logged in. So my main account's actually ran out of game time. And I'm in. So I'm half assuming it's on. Gonna have to cut down on this wife thing to fit everything into the schedule. Well, fun fact, she's taking the puppies. Nips was staying with me. But she's taking the 2 young ones to her parents later on today, and she's visiting them for the weekend. So I've actually got the weekend mostly to myself, which will probably mean that I can get a lot of YouTube content done, a lot of the guide stuff done, because I'll actually have a bit of peace and quiet. I won't be looking after puppies and cleaning sick off the floor. Nips was far more civilized. It's Alma and Sulla that's just flipping. I got to have one ear and one eye on them 24 hours a day. So this weekend, there's a good opportunity for me to get some, like, play catch up on some of the things we need to do. I'm half tempted now that the beta's... It's not a release candidate build, but it's flagged as release, which is like the first step towards getting a release candidate build. Which makes me think that near enough most what we see at the moment is what we're going to get. Like, meaning that I'm taking a gamble still, but I think I can start putting some of the video content together in terms of like profession guides, leveling guides, this sort of stuff, like deep dive videos. I think all of that. I mean, like I said, I'm running a bit of a risk that they turn up and change something, but if we go in with that disclaimer, it's fine. Lambs. Alma. Hey. What are you barking for? What are you barking for? What are you barking for? Oh, hello, careful, there's phone numbers on that. Don't you start. Will you make a guide for the abundance event? I'm not sure I will make a guide on it per se. I don't think it's really guide worthy, but it will definitely feature as a daily cooldown video. I just need to go back in there and have a little poke around and just double check that my info on it is still up to date. It will probably make like a daily cooldown style video. I don't think it really requires much of a guide, but just 5-10 minutes. This is what it is. A bit of, what you can get from it. Maybe how you unlock it. Yeah, there'll be something. Penguin's back making videos, which is great to see. Oh, is she? Okay. Oh, that's cool. I haven't checked YouTube today. What's on my YouTube? What's on the YouTubes? Blizzard, you let me down. Oh, God. Preaches on one. Preaches on one. Biggest changes in Midnight. Penguin video. I have to watch. I love Penguin. She's great. I have to watch her videos on 2x speed though.
Both, I hope.
Impressed with the 6 months. Thank you very much. Good morning. Good mornings. Appreciate that one. I'm going to guess Penguin's probably doing the Wowhead guides again this year. Would be my assumption. She usually does at least a couple of the Wowhead profession guides. I just hope that all the guides end up being at least factually mostly correct. It's what I'm almost considering misinformation season right now. as we draw to the end of the beta. How can I open TSM craft? I can't find the command you used in the lumber video. Well, you can do /TSM space crafting. Will open. It's just your profession window. You know, hit K and open your profession, but tick the trade skill master button in the top corner. Yeah, it's very clear to me as well that some videos that clearly would be of value to people are some basic overview TSM stuff as well. It's been many years since I've done any basic TSM guides. You see, all of this is reasons to why I am absolutely not starting an NA series, am I? No, that's actually mental source. My wife took the puppies and left to her mother's. Is it me or does it sound like you did something wrong? No, it's the exact opposite. I asked her to go away for a while. Like, please take these puppies. Give me a few days to actually get some shit done. When you're when one eye and one ear is on 3 dogs most of the day, it's relatively challenging to be overly constructive. And I'm a bit of a procrastinator at the best of times. Oh, hang on. I set up flipping scroll wheel macro yesterday to do all of this. I finally got round to actually setting up the scroll wheel macro on all of my characters. Having to do the same thing 80 times though was the reason I hadn't done it up until now, but A few NA realms are offline. I'm not sure why. Yeah, a few people have said that NA is having problems right now. I don't know. Maybe Russia's finally invaded. Who knows? Probably shouldn't joke, should we? Suppose you don't need people to invade. You're basically in a civil war right now, as it is. Trump sold the internet. Exchanged it for some Trump coin and some magic beans. Yeah, some TSM, some mini TSM content might not go amiss again. Just if it's, you know, a refresher for those people who maybe haven't used TSM for a while, and some basic overviews to just kind of how the simple stuff works for those that quite possibly have never really used TSM properly. Because since Dragonflight, it's not really been the way you do crafting, if you know what I mean. But certainly for decor, you can leverage TSM's ability very much to your advantage if you know what you're doing. Going to build his own internet and it's going to be the greatest. You're flipping North Korea all over again, isn't it? Lord Rune, good morning, welcome in. It's good to see some of the OGs turning up again. I always wonder at this time of the expansion as well. I wonder how many people, like, and I always know Blizzard is just like top tier when it comes to marketing and pulling people back into their game. I always wonder how many, like, this is why we get that huge spike, isn't it? Massive, great big spike of interest in the game. Because the rumor does definitely play true that you never quit this game. You might take a vacation, an extended hiatus. But the 75k. Hello. Few bits and bobs. It was remix for me. Loved the game mode. Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Remix was a bit hit or miss for me in the development, like the testing stages of it. Real hit or miss for me. I'm a big hater of the old time gating though. This is my problem. Staggering the phases was what frustrated me about Remix, but the first couple of weeks blast is always fun. Felt like a new Diablo season kind of thing. Remix should be like an AR. Oh, well, yeah, see, there we go, yeah. Should be like the ARPG stuff. Just bang one out every few months, yeah. Who knows? They might end up doing something like that eventually. Once they've got a couple of them, like, created and in the bank, so to say. Remix turned out better than expected. For me, I was very worried when it was on the beta. Well, they put a lot of emphasis on Mythic Plus, didn't they? An awful lot of emphasis on the Mythic Plus side of things. Mythic Plus ending up being like one of the more optimal ways to grind your like end game power. How many Arcway keys do we think will run? Probably a lot. Midnight's killing WoW, calling it first. I don't think you're the first to say WoW's dying. But I mean, I'm relatively open about the fact I'm convinced Midnight's just a filler expansion. I think it's the reason why they are absolutely desperately playing all of their ace cards with housing. Just think back to not that long ago where they basically came out and said that they've been developing housing as a complete separate tangent to retail for like 5+ years. And it's literally only been in the last, 6 months where they've really tagged housing onto Midnight and tried to like link the two together. Can you imagine if housing wasn't ready to be launched and still had another year or so's worth of development in it? What the hell would be of major interest about Midnight for a lot of players? It doesn't have a strong identity outside, without housing. I've long suspected that the War Within, Midnight, and The Last Titan are kind of like one expansion's worth of like content that's being spread over 3 to give them time to work on whatever their next major thing after The Last Titan is. Which, of course, is the thing that we don't know what it is yet. I mean, I know I'm relatively cynical about these things generally, but I don't think that's too far-fetched of a claim. Midnight is the housing expansion. Yeah, exactly. I think they are very, 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 very heavily leaning on people's enjoyment and engagement with housing to drag Midnight through. Three add-on saga. Everything in Midnight feels bad. You lose your UI, you lose your abilities. They've squished your stats. Simple professions. Zero fun. I'm sure there is plenty of fun to be had, but I understand the sentiment, yeah. Just had an issue come up, word of warning. I opened one of my mailboxes with TSM and it automatically consumed a decor item. I just clicked on the open all mail. Luckily it was a super cheap item. I have a few more in the bank. Interesting. That doesn't sound like it's something that would be a TSM related thing. That sounds like... You sure you don't have like an auto opening add-on or something? I use one called what they call new openables. It gives me a button that I can press to open things, open like loot boxes and stuff. But I'll pay attention, thank you. Prince of Darkness mini video got me baited. At first glance, I thought it was an animated WoW series on Netflix or something. It was obviously a very touching nod to Aussie. But I don't really understand what it was for. This is my point. Everything yesterday was marketing. This wasn't driven as a we're talking to the player base, keeping us informed about what's coming. No, it had marketing spin all over it. The entire thing was a marketing presentation. It should have had hashtag ad on front of it, yeah. Because it didn't really tell the active player base much of anything we didn't already know. There wasn't really even one, we were expecting, or some people were at least hoping for like an actual announcement of something. Is this, okay, big 2026 roadmap, the 35-year Blizzard thing, okay, they've got to be announcing something of like big juice here. Is this where they're going to announce like Classic Plus or something? But no, it was just a marketing. It was a 20-minute marketing video. Even Ian kept saying, "We can't tell you about this yet." So I think he said that like 3 or 4 times. We don't have any details to share yet. Well, shut up then. Come back when you do. Target wasn't the active player base rather than those. Well, yeah, see, this is the thing. It was purely designed for news platforms like PC Gamer to grab it, rip it apart, and then get some get some eyeballs on it. It was just marketing. Entirely marketing. Spun us an announcement to make sure that every streamer, every content creator, every player was paying attention to it in order to get the furthest reach on it. Two takeaways from it was that A, Classic Plus is happening and coming at BlizzCon, and B, the new game mode. We'll see. Ooh, 30k here, we'll take that. Sales don't seem quite as buoyant today. But then again, it might end up being the same scenario as what we stumbled across yesterday, where it's just lots of little stuff all over the place. Lots of small numbers add up to make big numbers. Doesn't seem to matter what specs my PC is or what PC I use. I can never do more than 3 box. As soon as I go to 4, I get crashes and hangs and all sorts of crap. That's odd. I am, not immune to things going wrong. But I'm going to be brutally honest, 9 out of 10 issues I seem to have are related to graphics card drivers. I think I've got a slightly twitchy... I think I didn't win the silicon lottery with my graphics card. I think my graphics card's a little bit twitchy. But proving that and being able to get it RMA'd and exchanged is going to be borderline impossible, so I'm just going to have to live with it. But I'm pretty convinced that it takes a while for my graphics card drivers to settle down. They need warming up. I actually don't run the latest graphic card drivers at all now, because stability is more important to me than the absolute latest and greatest. All graphics way down for accounts 2 through till 4, still crashing. The one thing, I know it sounds completely bananas, but one of the things that I absolutely swear by for stability is switch off DX12. Use DX11. I can quite frequently link back any weirdness to using DX12 in WoW. It just doesn't seem anywhere near as stable. Sure, you might have a little bit more janky edges with DX11, but at least the game doesn't lag, crash, stutter, and burn. Will you be covering the new in-game market once it comes out? I bet it would be a bigger money grab than boosting. Wait, what? What are we talking about? What do you mean the new in-game market when it comes out? What are we chatting about? Are you talking about the Hearthsteel stuff and the decor? The shop bought decor? Hang on, what are we talking about? You've lost me. Barely play on Windows at all anymore. Moved all stuff over to Fedora. I have not touched Linux literally ever. I have, you know, if I knew my ass from my elbow about Linux, I would have considered it, but I don't. So, and I'm not willing to learn. Ian said that you'll be able to import decor design strings. Oh, yeah. I mean, soon as you can import export designs, like you can import export, you know, UI profile and stuff. Yeah, you'll absolutely find prominent content creators sharing their houses and stuff. That will certainly have an impact on decor sales for sure. I joked yesterday that Manthius will have a housing design that conveniently uses all 240 plus crafted pieces of decor. See you in the auction house. Yeah, I mean if they there's lots of people who are like myself who probably haven't really played with decor all that much because they're simply just not very creative. The most creative thing I could probably come up with for my player house is just like trying to replicate either the studio or, you know, trying to replicate my actual house or like in other words, my level of creativity is copying something. Also known as I don't have that much level of creativity, and I'm not really that interested about sitting there tinkering, moving a rug 3 pixels left or 4 pixels right. Um, in that regard, housing's not really my jam. But if I can grab like, you know, some cool design off somebody else, import it, and then that gives me a list of like that gives me a list of pieces of decor that I need to go and get, then I'll absolutely do that. Because it removes the requirement to be overly creative in the first place. Let creative people be creative and let non-creative people skim off the work of everybody else. Will absolutely be a thing. We're moving everything over to Linux at work. It's come a long way since I tried it 20 years ago. I'm sure it's fantastic, and Steam has been sort of pretty strong in pushing Linux to be more supportive. Well, sorry, I should probably say it's the other way around, isn't it? Steam has driven game devs to be more supportive of Linux. So for productivity in gaming, it's probably now certainly better than it used to be. I still have the stigma of Linux just being, oh, it's what server people use, you know? Looks like you're creating Shadowlands legendaries on Twitch. Why? 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 Because it's made me about 25 million gold in the last 30 days. It is by far the most lucrative way I've found to make gold recently. And I can give people a little bit of a heads up. Listing auctions and auction house play is not something that's going to go away on my channel for a long while, I think. With crafting in Midnight looking to have quite a finite time of interest for me. I think Season 1 will do a whole bunch of crafting and it'll be a laugh. But I cannot see myself fighting over single-digit margins again as soon as it gets to that point. Like, why would I? Why would I fight over single-digit margins when I'm making 50% margin flipping decor? Now, who's to say that the decor market will still be that lucrative by that point? But the issue I've had with the crafting system since the new system was introduced, too much work for abysmal reward outside of Season 1. Yeah. They kept the ball rolling in Dragonflight reasonably well. Dragonflight also had the effect of that it was new, right? So it took people are slow to react to new. So Dragonflight, that there was a bit of a longer tail to it. The War Within, though, has been... You are wrestling for single-digit margins most of the time. And those single-digit margins do not exclude any of the risk that you take. You can take single-digit margins if it's basically guaranteed. But it isn't. You would fight for single-digit margins at the same time knowing that if the price of the materials drops by 10%, which is very likely to happen because materials continuously throughout the period of an expansion drop anyway, that you could end up not only spending a bunch of gold, but spending a whole bunch of time processing the materials you buy in order to only then be able to sell your final products for less than what you paid. So not only have you lost gold, but you've also lost all the time it takes to do it as well. That's the big risk with single-digit margins, and it's just not my cup of tea. I'm just not going to go there. I'm actually thinking of doing map farming, guaranteed sales, and at least I get to play the game instead of being sat at the auction house. I don't mind being sat at the auction house as long as there's interesting stuff to do. Plenty of stuff to look at buying, plenty of stuff that looking to flip, interesting markets to play around with. My dopamine kick is this part of the day, right? My dopamine kick comes from opening all of the mailboxes in the morning, seeing what we've sold overnight, because that's where the true gold comes in. You get to see the results of your effort. That's where I get my dopamine kick, which at the end of the day is why a lot of us play games. Get that enjoyment and get those good feel chemicals flowing. Thank God GTA 6 is coming out this year then. Hey, let's not jinx it. Been delayed twice now. Let's not jinx it. I bought a PlayStation 5 nearly a year ago. In preparation for GTA 6 coming out. You know where that PlayStation 5 is? Still in its box. I really should have just sold it again, to be honest. It weren't the cheap PlayStation either. It was the flipping Pro one. Like if I'm gonna have to play on a console, I want at least it to be as powerful as possible. Knowing my luck, they'll flipping release the PlayStation 6 before GTA 6 comes out. You can flip it now for a profit. The way that the memory market is looking. Is that going to have a knock-on effect to the console markets, though? Surely not. Surely not. Surely the consoles aren't using DDR5 RAM. They're using GDDR6. In that case, I might. White balance has gone bananas. I need to... I can press this button. Boop. More likely to give me a headache. You got me intrigued now. What's the price of the PlayStation 5 Pros? Ah! Okay, that's quite funny. That's quite amusing. The PlayStation 5 Pro is €150 more expensive than I paid for it over a year ago. Oh, I could flip it for a profit. That's actually bananas. I'd only have to buy it back again at the end of the year, though, so I just might not bother. I paid €700 for it about this time last year, and they're €849 now. Whoops. Thanks, AI. Yeah. Like I said, it's ridiculous. I bought it purely for GTA 6, and then GTA 6 got delayed. Then it got delayed again, and I'm like, for fuck's sake. The warranty is going to be out on the PlayStation before I even take it out of the box. This is the reason I haven't taken it out of the box. Because at least it maintains its resale value if it's still factory sealed. Big manufacturers are even thinking about delaying next-gen consoles because of cost. I mean, the problem is consoles are like... They're not the cheap alternative anymore. This is the thing, right? They used to be the cheap alternative to building a gaming PC. It used to be the cheap alternative that you throw under the TV in the living room. Your games console is not, you can buy a flipping 70-inch, OLED TV for €1,200. If the new consoles come out and they're €1,200, like you're not going to be paying as much for the console as you are the TV in most cases. It's like bananas. It's kind of crazy. They used to, the consoles used to be loss leaders. They used to lose money on the consoles willingly on the benefit of the fact that they knew they make their profit on the games, the accessories, and all of that sort of stuff. But the games have all gone mostly digital now. The accessories, people just don't, people don't buy 4 controllers anymore for them and their mates because the controllers are $80 a piece. Console market is screwing itself over due to standard capitalism practices. You can build a reasonable gaming PC for like $1,200. Especially if you're willing to pick up a few of the parts on the second-hand market. AI bubble will burst. OpenAI already thinking about their IPO. Money seems to be running out and still no real revenue coming in. Yeah, it feels we almost talk about this every single day, so I don't want to go into it anymore, but I do agree. There's always something that's expensive when building a PC, though. If it's not the graphics card, it's the RAM. If it's not the RAM, it's flipping hard drives have gone through the roof. Like, there's always something. There's always something. There's always a bottleneck product that you feel as if you have to pay twice the flipping price for. Kind of means that instead of just, like, building a new PC, like, all components in one go, you should probably just, like, periodically upgrade, Frankenstein it. Then you can, for the most part, ignore the parts that are massively overpriced right now in favour of picking up the parts that are better value. Swear if the AI bubble pops and we're flooded with cheap RAM, I'm going to stick 128 gig in here and just disable Windows virtual memory. That's a play. You can buy more dark portals. just surround, make an entire room of portals. I regret not going for 64 instead of 32 for the $100 more. Yeah, I looked at this the other. I looked at this not long ago. I paid substantially less for my 64 gig of RAM like 3 years ago when DDR5 was still pricey. I wasn't what you would consider an early adopter to AM5 and DDR5, but I still purchased it when it was at the higher end of its initial pricing. And then it came down and was a lot more reasonable, and now it's just gone bananas. Which is why I am kind of quite glad I went for 64 a few years ago. Right, what we got? One more realm. Nearly got the auctions relisted. I recall warning you about DDR5 prices. Well, they don't seem that expensive now. Yesterday you said you have 32 gig. No, I've got 32 gig in my old PC, which could be refashioned if I update that old PC to bring it up to modern times. My main PC's got 64 gig in. I'd Frankenstein my old PC. I just need to replace the motherboard and the CPU in it, really. It's got good enough RAM. It's got 3070 in it. It's got 750 watt power supply. It's got everything that's needed to run a, say, home server / stream PC. It's just the processor and motherboard is just verging on too old. Old PC sounds like prime home server material. Yeah. Plus, obviously now I have the 24/7 VOD channel on Twitch as well, which I pay monthly for. Of course, if I have an in-home equivalent, I can remove that expense. Right, is that everything posted? That's everything posted. Let's do the napkin maths. Didn't feel super lucrative today. Didn't feel super lucrative at all. But small numbers make big numbers. Where's the calculator? 167 plus 157 plus 466 plus 255. Oh, we broke a mil again, though. I tell you what. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the fact that I'm now at a point where it doesn't feel like I'm making humongous mailboxes, yet we're still breaking 1 million a day still. Which is really nice to see. Yeah, none of the mailboxes are like crazy, but just, you know, a steady 20 to 30k on a whole bunch of realms. With a couple of like spicy 50, 70k realms. So that's somebody was asking earlier, why am I playing Shadowlands Legendaries again? Well, if we look at the last month sales now, we do the last month, I think we're averaging nearly 1 million a day over the entire month. 9.4 plus 5.7 plus 4.7 plus 5.1 25. Oh, it'd be really cool if we can get the mil a day average, which would be cool. Don't knock all parts. I'm running an 8th gen 6-core processor running my home services. Because it just sips power, 5 watts idle. I don't know what's in my old one. 6700K, I think. So, 6th gen. So this is why I still think it's getting a little... It's getting a little old. Need to punish the alts that are not selling anything. What, move the decor off them to the realms where it is shifting. We can I mean, we're still even like there isn't any realms that isn't selling anything though, really. This is this is kind of the point. This is why I tell people there isn't really any realms where nothing is selling, because decor sells everywhere. There's only so far. There's only 3 realms, 4 realms on my list here that have less than 100k of sales. And that's mostly because they're the really big servers where I don't sell anything on them. Like Argent Dawn right now is a realm where I don't sell anything, but that's because I buy everything from Argent Dawn. I've spent 1.3 million on Argent Dawn. Sorry, I'm aware on the stream these numbers are going to be almost illegible, which is why I'm trying to annotate them. But Taran Mill, twinned with Dentag. Taran Mill's another one. I've only sold 77k worth of decor, but I've spent 500,000 here buying it. That's the point. Silver Moon, another one. Only 136k of sales, but I've spent 1 million here buying the decor. This is why I keep telling people, don't try and sell your decor on the big realms. Genuinely, don't try and sell your decor on the big realms, because you're not going to get fair market rates on what you could do by taking it somewhere else. It's no extra effort. It's literally 0 extra effort to sell it on another realm somewhere else. But then I've got some realms, for example, if we, flip it the other way around, the realms where we've sold the most stuff on. This Eschken Kessel German realm, I don't know what that's twinned with, but it's one of the bigger German population realms. I apologise, I've absolutely butchered the pronunciation of the realm name, but over 500,000 gold worth of decor sales, and I've spent over 1 million gold here. This is, for some reason, flipping outrageously good server. We're both selling and buying decor from. Arguin, 800k of sales in the last month. Not really bought anything from here though. We'll ignore Draenor, because Draenor is where I buy my tokens and all sorts of stuff from. I've spent 5 million gold on Draenor. Cho'Gall, Das Consortium, Agrimar. These are all realms that have done like 500,000 gold worth of decor this month. But yeah, like the concept of punish the realms that aren't selling anything. There isn't any. There isn't any. If I post decor on those realms, it sells. There isn't anywhere where stuff doesn't sell. Believe it or not, I'm still feeling as if I'm struggling for stock. I would sell more if I had more. I think I made 1.2 to 1.5 mil a week, but with only 1 account, farming my own lumber. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing the farming process, then you make as much as you put, you get out of it what you put in, but German servers twinned with Black Hand. Okay, yeah, so big server. Yeah. I would absolutely love to be able to just have more and list more. But, it's limited to how much cheap stuff I can find. $6,700K is one of the most used in home servers due to its energy efficiency. Well, not the K variant, but the 6th, 7th, and 8th are peak efficiency for home servers. Oh, are they really? Well, in that case, then maybe I'm onto a win with my old PC. I just need to pull my finger out and use it then. I mean, 6,700K has got to be like, what, 8 years old or something now? Still on flipping Windows 10. Anyway, too much tech talk. Far too much tech talk. Let's, oh shit, why does YouTube say, no, YouTube is good, we're fine. We might jump onto the beta now. I think we might jump onto the beta. We had a build the other day, which would be of value to poke around, sniff around, see what's what. Oh, all of my accounts expire in 2 days. Oh, that's kind of handy. That means I can give them all a token's worth of game time on Monday when the free weekend finishes. And then that'll be them all ready for midnight launch. Where's the beta? Go. Love this login screen, by the way. This login screen is, like, beautiful. What's the free weekend for? Hype. You can, yeah, but if you've got an account that's had, in fact, let me just test it quickly. If you've got an account that has had game time in the past but hasn't at the moment, you can play it free this weekend. Where is it? January 29th through February 1st. All players with inactive World of Warcraft accounts full access to the game. All your characters without a subscription. Previously had an active subscription, can access all expansions, including the War Within, play the most recent content, including the Twilight Ascension pre-patch event. Don't bother, ignore it. Where you'll band together and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, basically free weekend. What's the disclaimery bits? Ability to return to WoW without a subscription ends on February the 2nd at 8 AM GMT. Housing early access is only available with pre-purchase of midnight. To be eligible for the Welcome Back weekend, a player must have previously had an active subscription. World of Warcraft game time is not required during the Welcome Back weekend. So now, for example, I should be able to log on to, like, I think it was WoW 6 that doesn't have the War Within. As subscription expired, and I should be able to load this. This is the account that's got my, like, twinked out level 70 Demon Hunter on, which might be worth now leveling up to 80 so that you can do the same job for me, potentially, of self-boosting all of my other accounts. There he is, Jason's. If I log him in right now, there's a chance he'll ding as well. He's got 200k on him. Flipping hell. 200,000 golds, just chilling. But yeah, so, you know, no need for game time at the moment for this weekend. Free weekend came in clutch for my alt account where I had all my old gold parked. Just moved it over to a main. Depending on how rich you are, slam it in the war bank. 100 mil limit in the war bank. You might be balling out and fill that though already. Right, what do I want to do on the beta? What do I want to actually do on the beta? There's part of me that wants to have a little poke around all the professions just to see if we can spot things that have been fixed and updated. I might just cycle through the max build professions and just, you know, sanity check stuff. Yesterday in the video, Ian said there were rares and bosses in the pre-release event. Anybody know what he was talking about? I don't think he knew what he was talking about. They also mentioned that it was spanning across multiple zones, which, no, it's Twilight Highlands. I genuinely think the pre-patch event probably had more cooking, but was not able to be finished, so they toned it all back, and yeah, not sure. Not sure. Pre-patch event felt weird. What the hell am I doing out here? Hey, Wild Zanzaful appears. How we doing, my man? Welcome in. Within 2 seconds, people are like, when are you streaming? Have they made any changes to this? No. It still takes only 1 shrouded stone. Fine. Prospecting for the most part feels relatively finished. Are we actually able to use max quality stuff on all of this now? Guarantee things. Okay, these have been fixed, look. These have been fixed, which is nice. These have had their numbers rebalanced. Meaning that you can actually mass produce vials at high quality. One thing I wanted to check, actually, this has just been something that I've blindly assumed, and I've blindly assumed that you can buy vials off the trainer. Yeah, you can, yeah. I was blindly assuming that was the case, and it suddenly dawned on me the other day. I'd never actually checked if you can buy glass vials off the vendor, but you can. No, they are still considered a basic vendor reagent. Good, 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 good. These all look to do their thing properly. These have all been balanced to be guaranteeable. Double check we are fully chubbed up in the specialization department. Yep. You are absolutely right on the line though with these. They've literally taken them to, there is 0 margin for error. A wild Twitter user appears. Sick burn. Twitter user Zanzaful. Fucking wowhead, man. Okay. Check through all the older accounts. It's actually not a bad idea, you know. I only use 5 of my accounts, but I've got 8 of them. It might not be a bad idea to use this free weekend to have a poke around and see if there's anything interesting on them. Needs to not be there. I'll never forget it. No. You gotta do something to squish the meme. Even found the article. That's funny. What kind of asshole would show this on stream? Warband Bank gold cap discovered by Zanzaful in the War Within Alpha. Thanks to a crafty Twitter user. Twitter user Zanzaful. That's funny. These can be far exceeded, which is to be expected. But there's no room for shenanigans on these anyway, because they only take 2 materials. Three motes, 1 gem. 3 motes, 1 gem, 5 dust is still the ratio they're going with. Can't help but feel there's going to be no shortage in this stuff. What does a full multi-craft? 33% multi-craft before the use of finishing reagents. $90 comes from that. We've got 361. That's going to push you up to about 40-ish% multi-craft using a multi-craft manifold. Holy shenanigans. Okay, all of these seems to have been balanced and fixed now. Am I at the point where we can actually do a proper deep dive and start talking about Jawn crafting as if it's finished? I think we might be, you know. Somebody's definitely been in and balanced out all of the recipe difficulties now. Yeah, there we go. There we go. 2 points. 2 points in it. Been thinking about playing the new WoW expansion and creating 0 content. Hey, it'd be a different way to play an expansion. I can't remember what it's like to play an expansion and not be thinking with a content creator brain. Concentration required may have changed. Not really. 826 concentration needed to craft a diamond. Woo! Spicy meatball. $826 concentration, and that's with a fully decked out optimal build. Spicy meatball. The issue is, I don't think high quality diamonds are going to be that challenging to acquire. Since since you can prospect tin and silver quite reliably for diamonds. Juicy potential for ingenuity on that one. Do you get 100% refund on ingenuity with Jawn crafting? You do, yeah. That's if you can stack ingenuity high enough for it to make that much of a difference. That's a real gamble, though. Your gamble is still better put on multicraft, because whilst ingenuity would be spicy, multicraft is off the charts level spicy. You would still use your multicraft tool. 32% multicraft. You probably would try and use a manifold or a multicraft matrix on these. An extra 90 multicraft would put you somewhere in the range of, like, in fact, we can actually find out, can't we? Because we can go and get some of those off the trainers. We head back to Ogorma. Learning speedrunning build setups because of the 2 ranks. Yeah, literally the only barrier to entry is get the recipe. Like, it's kind of odd that that's the build for most professions. Just get the recipe. Ignore tools, ignore anything else, ignore knowledge points, ignore everything. Just get the recipe. Get the recipe, press the button. That's literally it. Where are the... Okay, there's only the big boy ones here, but I guess the big boy ones show at least what fun can be had. So we have gem. Where are we at? Where they gone? Diamonds. Diamonds, 826 concentration. Slamming a multi-craft manifold. Puts you above 40% multi-craft. So you're almost flipping a coin, aren't you? You're almost flipping a coin on whether you're going to get a multi-craft proc. Flip a coin on getting a multi-craft proc. And if you do, it's like cash money. Absolute cash money. There's no point. Yeah, there's no point stacking Ingenuity because it can multi-craft. Sure, Ingenuity will refund you 100%, but a multi-craft proc could proc up to like 3 or 4 of these. Like that. Like that. You know, when that happens, you are big cash monies potentially. Your 826 concentration has gone into actually making 3 diamonds instead of 1. I don't think you can stack Ingenuity high enough, even with a 100% refund, to outdo that. You'd have to be able to get Ingenuity to like 70% before you'd be outpacing what you get through multi-craft chances. Free weekend doesn't work. Tried to log into a level 25. It shouted at me to subscribe. Has it actually kicked off yet? What did we say? What did we say it said on the dashboard for this? 29th of January. What day is it today? It's the 30th of January. Okay, it should work. Okay. I need more quality 1 dust. Give me some Q1 dust. Guaranteeing high quality, guaranteeing quality 5 with all quality 1 maps. That's a fun one. On the basic PvP gear. Which is what are the jewelry everybody's going to want? There's the straight Masterwork Sindori band. When you add an optional embellishment, when you add missive, you add 5 to the difficulty. You add 20. You add 25. Oh, they've added they've added difficulty. Whoa, hold on. Oh, I wonder how many places that's going to cause chaos. Okay, there needs to now be a 30 difficulty window on some crafts. Because they've added difficulty to the high quality embellishments. Oh, I bet they've balls that up. Where's... Oh, wait, hang on. What do I need for these? Where do I get the crests from? Give me the boxes. Ash of Dawn crests. Give me a few of those. Wait, what? Give me more, give me more, give me more. Lamb 2 sparks in there. Mythic upgrade. I need some of the embellishments. I need some of the missives. I could just do the napkin math, but it's easy to just see it. Those. Where's the missives? Wait, what? What the flip? Why is 60 Myth Dawn crests? Didn't I just open the boxes of all of them? Fucking hell's going on here? Oh, you got to put the spark in first. Stupid game. Oh, okay. Wow, okay. There is... Woo! There is nothing in that either. I wonder how many places they've messed that up, though. The optional reagents, the high quality ones, didn't have a recipe difficulty. They seem to have added recipe difficulty to these. You only needed a 25 skill. Now it's up to 30 because you got 5 plus 5 plus 20. You know that there's some places where that's not going to have worked and they've going to have messed things up. Okay, sure. At least it works for dual crafting. That's all I care for. I care to be able to turn around and say, right, okay, this is dual crafting now. Yeah, guaranteeable. Gleaming copper bands. Can't begin to tell you how many of these will sell. You can make... Woo! Spicy meatball. Quality 5. You can guarantee quality 5 with quality 1 reagents. You know what's going to be funny? Is that the qualities 1 through to 4 of these will probably end up being more expensive than the quality 5 ones on most realms. Because there'll come a point where you physically can't make them. There'll be a point where you physically can't make them at anything other than quality 5. Yeah, you can take off all of your profession accessories and you can't actually make these at any less than quality 5, even if you try. So you'll have qualities 1 through to 4 of these on the auction house for 5 times the price of quality 5 because nobody will be able to make them. There'll be a weird meta of crafting these at quality 4, not putting enough skill in. Well, maybe not a meta, but goblin shenanigans, should we say. The craft can take the currency directly, right? The crests. Yeah, empowering it here seems to be that it just straight up takes the crests. You don't have to convert the crests first. Which is probably how they're going to have to implement. They're going to have to add another on the... Where are they gone? On all of this sort of stuff, they're going to have to add one of those boxes, aren't they? And it's going to be for Moxie. Rare one is going to require 300 Moxie. The epic one will require, let's just say, 450 Moxie. That's going to be how they're going to have to implement Moxie on the profession stuff. But that's, at this point, that's got to happen next build, right, surely. I've had it on reasonably good faith that it's coming. I say reasonably good faith. I have no reason to believe or not believe the person that has informed me of such. But I will still... We will see it when it happens. Okay, all of these seem to be balanced out nicely. Hey, this is exciting. I might be actually able to say Jawn crafting. I can put a tick next to Jawn crafting, hopefully. Yeah. We might be able to put a tick next to Jawn crafting and say it's done. Might be worth checking the leveling path for Jawn crafting. Was there any weirdness going on with that? Let me just double check. That's why I write shit down, because I don't write shit down, I can't remember. That's the concentration one. That's knowledge points. Where's the leveling builds? Decor. Oh, we're on the leveling builds. Dum-dum. Jawn crafting. Prospect, vials. Few gems, few more gems, few more gems. Oh yeah, those stupid chalice things all the way from 40 to 65, which feels odd. And then the embellishments of the diamonds up to 100. Okay, I'm going to be honest, that kind of felt like it was probably finished as well. So I actually think Jawn crafting might be good to go. Guarantee all of these. The interesting thing to note here, though, is whether this is still something that has yet to be... Well, I mean, if they haven't added the Moxie onto these, it also makes sense that they're not finalized, right? But the epic ones still here can only just about be made at quality 4, even with all min-max gear still. The recipe difficulty on these still seems very, very high for the epic ones within Jawn crafting. 10 Sindori lenses needed.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me? Both, I hope.
Yo, Dirt, my man with the 56, welcome in. Good to see you, brother. Hope we're good. Raise a glass, prepare for Blizzard to do some sort of fuck up as always. Yes, yes. Thank you, my man. Overall, Jawn crafting looks to do what Jawn crafting does. It's going to excel, you know. It's got the maths problem of prospecting and crushing at the beginning, which once you figure out the maths, leads you into the rest of the ultimately mostly crafting of gems. It looks to be one of the professions that has better opportunities for concentration because of the prism. Fact that it needs all of the gems and then 10 dust. It's the 10 dust where the value is likely to be. I'm not really convinced that the high quality gems will be that much more expensive than the normal quality gems after a short period of time. But it's the gem dust that might have a little bit more flex in its value. It means your concentration could go in here quite nicely. You can't quite get this down to below 333 to be able to get 3 crafts off a single charge, but maybe switching in if these gems are... I mean, you might almost go as far as doing this, believe it or not, and then you got 5 crafts with concentration if these end up, you know, if the price difference between the gems doesn't end up being too much.
But the value comes from the dust. You use high quality of these, and you use low quality gem dust and concentration. That could be more of a build potentially. And of course the diamonds, as we were looking at earlier, low quality diamonds and prisms. 800 concentration per craft is actually batshit crazy. But stack your multi-craft and magic can happen. They make rings, necklaces, same business, same business. This thing just feels weird. Doesn't really do anything. And then what we got? Decor. Handful of decor. Decor uses the basic prisms, the basic dust. Dust stone, dust prism stone. Dust prism stones. 50 glass. For an hourglass? Holy. Yeah, looks alright. Euphoric, just got back that I passed my exams with flying colours. Oh, mate, well done. Congratulations. You've been busting ass over those. Well done. They added a crossbow to the pre-patch boss farm in the Twilight Highlands. Oh, okay. Cool. Hunters can rest easy then. Okay. All minus one final last update to the profession tools. Adding some moxie on them. I think jewel crafting is basically ready. Which is good to see. We really need a few professions to be in that sort of area now. Where we can start to say, this looks like it could go live like this and it wouldn't be a problem. What were my notes? For jewel crafting. Let's see if there's anything else I need to double check with jewel crafting. Are they flexed with crushing at all to what you can crush? There's no... Yeah, you're still not crushing. You still can't crush cut gems. It's only the raw gems. I'm hoping they haven't, and I'm hoping they're not going to change much of anything with prospecting or crushing, because I've done a bunch of stuff. If they change the yields, there's a diamond, look. They change the yields, they change the yields. It's just as long as they don't change what you get from it. It's all good. Okay, that's nice. That actually looks like jewel crafting is basically ready to go. That means I can start putting some videos and some content together about jewel crafting now. Which works for me, because it's one of my favourite professions. Okay, that's cool. Any questions? Any jewel crafting relating questions before we move on? Even recrafting, look. Even recrafting is similar. We'll have to see if this changes. I think the recipe difficulty of the epic stuff is likely to change. But everything else seems to be balanced and ready to go. Shadowlands Legendaries still sell for 100k a piece. No. Probably not, no. Oh, you've got my VOD channel open on Twitch. I've just figured out what's going on here. You're chatting to me on YouTube, but you've got the VOD channel open on Twitch. That VOD is from like 2020 something. Yeah, that VOD's from 9th of March 2022. I understand what's going on now. I understand why you keep chatting about. I understand why you keep chatting on about Shadowlands legendaries. I'm with you now. That's why I'm really confused. Yeah, that's the VOD channel. That's not the main channel. Twitch.tv/Manthius is the main channel on Twitch, which is the same as the YouTube stream. We multi-stream. Oh, you were getting the multi-Manthius experience. I see. Now it makes more sense. Right. Anyway, let's move on to the next one then, because that looks minus testing out prospecting rates again or whatever. That seems to be crafting seems to be good. Good to go. What's next on my list? Enchanting. Enchanting there was a bug. What was wrong with enchanting? The shatter spec tree was completely broken. I wonder if they fixed that. There was a significant bug with the Haranir enchants because this node didn't work, which also didn't let you use the finishing reagents. Have they fixed that? Haranir enchants. Yes, they've fixed that as well. Okay, we are getting places then. This build seems to have definitely fixed stuff. Does the hat give the right... Hey, the hat even gives the right stats now. Okay. Okay, we're getting there. There's more to this build than meets the eye, or at least more than the patch notes say. I really do wish some of these changes would hit patch notes, you know. It'd make my job much easier. Okay, that's one significant change then. That's going to mean that when we look at all of the enchants, they should work right. Let's make sure that everything else is balanced. Can I actually craft... Who makes these? Tailoring. No, wait. Made by Manthe Enchanter. No way I made that. Did I level tailoring on this same character? Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, it's because we don't get the right flipping... You can't get these recipes unless I go and buy them. Can I go buy these from Lorendor? Not without the Moxie, I won't. Is there any way to get free Moxie on these? Let me try and press the brain button again. Okay, it still didn't teach me these. I need a shitload of tailoring Moxie. No, the tailoring ones were added after this flipping big Tauren dude. He doesn't have the recipes. Unless they've been added since I last looked, but... Yeah, you're right, they should be here, but they're not. Already known. What is tailoring 1?
What the fuck? That's not the right item. That's not right. Wrong mote of light. Sweaty toys. Okay, that one's correct. That one's correct. Lol. This Moxie is the generic Moxie that's depreciated and doesn't work though, right? Let's try. I need a mount. Let's go and have a look. Yo, thanks for the follows, boys and girls. And the subs over on YouTube, I appreciate it. Where's Lorendorn gone? Right. Give me your recipes. Blacksmithing. Yeah, why were we able to learn the engineering recipes, by the way? That doesn't make no sense, does it? No, where the flipping hell's the epic ones? Oh, hello. Wait. Hold. Yeah, I need the flipping Tailor's Moxie. This generic Moxie shit don't work. I need the actual flipping tailoring Moxie. Okay, right. There is a way to do this. There is a way to do this. It's just a bit grim. In fact, there's no point doing this on this character. We should do it on the actual Tailor, because otherwise I'll end up doing it multiple times. Okay, I can fix that problem. So I can get the Enchanter's the Epic Enchanter's hat, at least for the purpose of testing. It's only really for testing like the yields of like top tier stuff, but I want a full build to be able to do it. Shattering is interestingly the yield is very close together. I don't want to get deep into this sort of stuff now. I just want to see if there's any clear and obvious changes with it. So, everything in there for a minute. 1 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 minute.
Just let this run for a minute and see what the outcome of this becomes. If we end up with shattering producing 50-50 mats, it's problematic. There needs to be substantially more quality 2 than quality 3. Which actually does kind of look like they might have changed it, which is nice. Once we can determine that most of this stuff feels finished, then we can go in and start like testing the yields of all of this and seeing what the actual rates become. It does seem better now. 100 Q2s to 50 Q3s. 2-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1 ratio is much, much, much better. It's certainly better than the 50-50 it was not too long ago. Obviously, this is just on Dawn Shattering, though. Oh, no, wait, shit, I've just realised. I haven't put any points into this. This is the naked build. This is the naked build. This isn't the max build. I was leaving this max. I was leaving this naked deliberately to see what the difference was. Oops, I forgot. Please hold. Try that again. Oh God. um. 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 Now, in fairness, your likelihood of shattering epic ones is not really so strong, but this is absolutely cracked. I would also point out 30% resourcefulness doesn't work. We have not had anywhere near 30% resource procs. It's because it's a single, there's a reason why. This is very this is 31% resourcefulness when you're only playing with one reagent is basically like having 10% resourcefulness. And that's because when resourcefulness procs, it can only give you about 30% of the materials back. Now, it can't give you 30% of a Dawn Crystal. So what the game does is it kind of, like, there's a separate role, right? And it basically means even you only actually get a Dawn Crystal back after 3 resourcefulness procs. That means you need 3 resourcefulness procs to get what looks like a resourcefulness proc. So you basically get only the third of the effectiveness of this. So you're basically dealing with only 10% resourcefulness. I don't know if I've described that very well, but this is why resourcefulness doesn't work very well on crafts that have a low amount of materials. Because the game can't give you a fraction of a material back. So it kind of has to, you know, in game terms, when something happens, it's all, but you can break it all down to like dice rolls. So, you know, you roll a dice and there's a 30% chance it procs resourcefulness. When it procs resourcefulness, there's then a separate roll that decides whether it procs high or it procs low, or it procs in the middle. If it has to proc high to actually give you the crystal back. Because it's a 30% refund on average. A high resourcefulness proc will give you the item back. But a mid-tier or a low-tier resourcefulness proc will give you nothing. Even after you've procced it. It's weird how it works. But in terms of estimated shatter yields here, shattering crystals is going to predominantly give you, if you put high quality in, you'll predominantly get high quality out. And then that same process can be followed down in suit. So if we put, then are we saying it's the same thing here? Same way around to make it easy to view. Well, shattering shards seems more 50-50 still. Okay, this is going to be weird if there's different yields. There's different ratios, sorry, on the different shatters. Do it till we've got at least 100 of one of them. Okay, in fact, still after a few crafts, still seems to lean in the same way as 2/3 high quality, 1/3 low quality. Still looks like a 1-to-2 ratio. It does appear to be roughly the same as the Dawn Shatter. It's going to be... I haven't tested actual disenchanting yet. But it's going to be interesting what disenchanting Dark Moon cards ends up. Disenchanting Dark Moon cards to then shatter. Could be an interesting twist. I haven't got enough quality 1 Dawn crystals to simulate this, and I can't get a bunch of quality 1 Dawn crystals easily. How do I get... Oh, the only way I can get quality 1 Dawn crystals is actually by disenchanting stuff. The saving grace is if disenchanting quality 1 has no chance of producing high quality. What I don't want to see here is any high quality dust. Okay. At least we don't seem to see any high quality dust. That simplifies things at least a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm relatively safe in saying you ain't getting any high quality dust from shattering quality 1, which is fine. I just need some more quality 1 Dawn crystals to test that. Alright. I don't want to go off the deep end into testing yields of this sort of stuff just yet. We do that once we're content that the rest of the profession works as planned. What are we looking at on these? Are we saying 10 points away from being able to guarantee these? Is that just because I don't have any of these weapon wraps? Yeah, so when it comes to deciding quality, it's just based on a ratio. What we as crafters want to see is the ratio focused more towards low quality materials, because you want there to be a premium in the high quality materials. That's the only way you will ever expect to see any value from concentration. If the abundant material that is produced is the normal quality mats. If the abundant material ends up being high quality mats, you start to have a problem, because then you have that will push the price of high quality mats down considerably, and the more it pushes the price of high quality mats down, the less value there is in concentration, which is only another nail in the coffin of concentration builds. Not something we can influence with tools. No. This is me playing around with a full build, all minus the hat. But like, that's only a tiny bit of resourcefulness and ingenuity, It all comes from these nodes. It all comes from your shattering is based upon these nodes, much like disenchanting. I still have the frustration that the game doesn't tell you any of this. Like, I've put this feedback into Blizzard a few times now that disenchanting doesn't tell you. There's nowhere in the game where it tells you how to get better at disenchanting. There's nowhere in the game that tells you how to get better at shattering. It's just kind of, you're left to guess, or to math it out yourself. Or if you have beta access, you math it out ahead of time so you know for when the game goes live. I need some of these weapon wraps, apparently. Max everything going in. Still 10 points short of guaranteeing. But it's still being 10 points short or 95 points short. It doesn't really make that much difference. The point is if you're still short, you still have to use concentration. 285 concentration will be needed. That is the same as what we saw with the jewel crafting stuff, but we're very certain that these are still work in progress. Because they don't have Moxie on them yet. It's funny how much stuff we are going to be able to guarantee at max quality whether we like it or not. The low level sort of leveling stuff. A too skilled crafter. There's going to be such thing as having too much skill, which is kind of funny. Okay, we can guarantee oils now. That's all working. These should all be guaranteeable now. Now that they've fixed that node in the tree. That will stop causing confusion for people. Because this is what people want to see. People want to see that everything is guaranteeable. You can use finishing reagents on everything. Any rebalancing on any of these? Like material-wise? Doesn't look like it. Not that we were expecting anything, but 25 and 15. Okay. Enchanting's another one. It's starting to come together now. Starting to look like enchanting. Even though we may not agree with the yields, that's ultimately not our choice. We can suggest that the yields being the way they are might not be great for the longevity, but they're not technically broken. They're just not in our favor. Everything else, though, seems to... Ooh, okay, that's cool. Everything else, though, seems to be as it should be. Oh, they're nearly getting it right. That's not the that's not the right mote of primal energy. That's a quest item game. Almost getting there. Yeah, well, we found this one earlier. We reported that one earlier. Because it's the same. Down. Oh no, hang on. We didn't report that one. We reported the other one. Let's do the same. Glamour first time craft bonus spam again. It'll be a good way to get Moxie. It'll be a good way to get Moxie for sure, yeah. Crafting one of each of these. 5 Moxie. Knowledge point. That's something I haven't double checked on this. There are some items that are giving 5 Moxie for first time craft. There are some items that are giving like 15. Yeah, here you go. Look, 10 Moxie on a first-time craft. The amount for first-time craft seems to be higher on, like, bigger, more expensive stuff. Which I haven't bothered to go through and science or math out. On an enchant, see 15 Moxie on an enchant, look. So there's one thing that is tempting to do if when we get the Moxie build, for example, when we get the Moxie build and we get a better understanding of how much Moxie we might need to get our profession tools and accessories, we can then look and say, right, how much Moxie are we actually going to be able to craft? How much are we going to be able to get? Harvesting first-time crafts is between 5 and 15 Moxie, dependent on the recipe. Plus, you've also got farming patron orders, which is an element of RNG, which unfortunately you're just going to have to deal with. But, you know, if Moxie becomes a bottleneck for people, keeping on top of their patron orders will get them Moxie faster. If speed is important, this is one thing I want to make really clear, though. The way that, because we've got so goddamn long until the season starts, you've basically got almost 4 weeks to get your profession up to full build before the raid like really kicks into full gear. The quote-unquote first-to-market advantage for stuff might not be all that strong if there's no demand for it by the time you reach it. So this is why I'm not overly convinced there's that much of a rush going into midnight. That with 3 weeks minimum before Mythic Plus opens and the Mythic Plus raid Mythic raid opens. Sure, there's Heroic Week and whatever. People want to get prepped for that, but the big demand won't really kick in until the Mythic Plus and the Mythic Dungeons, Mythic Raids opens, and people get their first like major vault. Did they tweak the lumber numbers again? Over a 20-minute session, I only got 1 3x lumber proc. Might just be unlucky. I don't believe they actually changed anything, by the way. I believe they told people they changed anything, and I don't believe the change did anything. From what I've seen, it's made as close to no difference as could be. Do I want to be pushing for a spec before week 4? Or do I just want to be hoarding knowledge points? You see, yeah, this is it. It depends what the thing is, right? There will be some value, sure, in unlocking the ability to max craft things. But if you unlock the ability to mass craft quality 3 gems in week 1, there's no point, right? Just because you can doesn't mean that you should be spending a premium to do it. You know, people aren't going to want high quality enchants for the most part until they get some gear that's worth enchanting. Very few people. I mean, you'll still sell some because of course you do, but you got to think about it like, you know, logically. When is the demand for stuff kick in? The demand for potions comes just before the raid and just on the launch of the raid. But for things like gems and enchants, you got to wait till people get gear. There's only one thing I haven't looked at regarding jewel crafting, really, and it's that what is actually the demand for gems going to be? Because we haven't got an item that allows you to put a socket on a piece of gear. It's certainly not a crafted one anyway. There's the one from the vault, presumably, but people aren't going to be like buying 3 items to socket 3 gems, maybe. So what really is actually the demand for gems even going to be? Tends to be potions comes first. Potions and food buffs come first because that's what people need before they even go into the raid. Then you'll stack enchants periodically, and gems is even more periodically after that, because you can get a piece of gear, but if it doesn't have a gem socket on it, you're not gemming it, are you? If you can't add a gem socket, you're not gemming it. So
And of course, things like embellishments, there's no value in being max crafter of embellishments until people get their sparks, which you can deterministically know way ahead of time, right? This is the day people get sparks. Until that point, who needs the optional embellishments? So getting access to craft them at high quality week 1, there's not really any value in that particularly, because you'll sell a few to a few idiots, because there's always idiots, but it's certainly not worth pushing to achieve, is kind of what I'm getting at here. That the 3-week minimum duration of time to just play with professions and get things set up basically means, unless you're trying to do 25 different builds across all of the professions, you got time. You got plenty of time to chip away at this. You don't really probably need to be so min-maxy with how you approach things. There's no shuffle to contend with this time round, so you're not racing against like hardcore sweats. You've actually got time on your hands. This is also one of the reasons why early access, I'm thinking of just like proper chilling through early access. Proper chilling. Level up my main hunter to 90, maybe level up an alt to 90, get the campaign done, see the side quests, get some of the reps sorted, kill some rares, do a little bit of farming here and there, and level up a few professions, like, you know, where is needed. I have a feeling I won't make as much gold with Midnight Professions than I do now with Decor. Oh, I know categorically people won't make as much gold with Midnight Professions than is available with Decor now. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. The gold rush started on December the 2nd. Genuinely. People waiting for midnight to go live to start doing goal making are missing one of the biggest opportunities we've had in goal making for like years. And it's a point of comparison, right? It's a point of people, you know, people want to look at what's been available previously. People kind of know that you can make 50k an hour right now farming Decor. Which means when you make 50k an hour in Midnight, it's not going to feel special. It's just, oh, well, I could do that with Decor, and I've been doing that with Decor already. It's not going to feel special. The reason an expansion launch often feels really special from a goal-making perspective is you've been picking up crumbs for 3 months before, desperately trying to scrape together like 5 to 10 to 15,000 gold an hour, because at the end of an expansion usually there's fucking nothing going on. So, you know, people have got used to being like, you know, poor as shit, and so then when you can go get 30,000 gold an hour farming herbs like easily, it's like Christmas come early to some people, because you are anchored on the value of like 5 to 10,000 gold an hour. You're making 50k farming lumber right now, which means 50k in the War Within is like, oh, it's, you know, it's just business as usual. Now, I know that's just the farming way of looking at it, but in goal making in general, that's the same sort of concept. And it's why you see people who make 50k an hour, 100k an hour when a system is new, very quickly drop it when the numbers come down. Because they're anchored at this like, oh, I was expecting 75, 100,000 gold an hour. Now I'm only making 50. It's not worth it. And, you know, other people are like, 50k an hour is not worth it. Are you mad? I'll bite your hand off for 50k an hour. So this is why I think the launch of Midnight is going to feel very strange to some of us. Because it might not feel as gangbuster as we're used to. Because Decor has been around a while now, and anybody that's harnessed that is, you know, it's not going to feel as, like, crazy. The reality is farming herbs and ore has a bit of a ceiling of about 70k an hour. Like, you've got to be doing something outrageously special to get much above, like, 70k an hour when you're farming herbs and ore. Like, you've either got to have had, like, think of going back to the War Within launch for a minute. Mining, you had to hyper optimize for null stones. null stones were like 5k a piece, and it was on the hours where you got lucky and got like 20 null stones in an hour. You took a screenshot and you posted that to Reddit. But you also had hours where you maybe only got 4 null stones, 5 null stones. That was 25k plus the value of the herbs, which was maybe another 10 to 15k on top of that. You were probably averaging 40k an hour, and that was if you were doing it right. But that big one shiny, I got 20 null stones in an hour, that's your screenshot. That's what you know, brag to everybody else. That's what everybody else thinks you're able to achieve. You're doing 75k an hour with decor right now. Like, moats, herbs, quality 2 herbs, or it's not going to be worth that much. It genuinely isn't. It genuinely isn't. Exceeding the amount of gold you can make with lumber right now at the beginning of the expansion is going to be challenging. It's not going to be a cakewalk, and it's not going to have the same feel. The same could be said when we went from Shadowlands into Dragonflight. People who made Shadowlands legendary money looked at most of what was available in Dragonflight and was like, this is chump change. Because I was opening mailboxes, 5 million gold a day mailboxes throughout most of Shadowlands. To then go into Dragonflight, and the only way you were getting a 5 million gold mailbox in Dragonflight was if you were absolutely dominating a market. So it was, you know, it's the comparison thing, isn't it? You can't help but compare what's been possible to what's available, and vice versa. You plan to farm the Thalassian lumber, you're going to need recipes and skill 80 with the profession. Yeah, that will be something that's worth doing for most people, I think. There's a good part of me that thinks that I will probably spend the first couple of weeks making sure that I've at least got my main 4 characters that have access to all of the professions. They will at least all get their skill to at least 80 to pick up those recipes, I think. But this is why I tend to think that I'm half planning on being a lot more chill with everything at the beginning of Midnight's launch. Because my fallback option is I just farm a bit of decor and I continue to flip my decor. Like, I've got a good solid foundation. I can just play around and I can tinker with stuff. I don't need to be sweating out, like, having 4 prospectors running in the background, making 20k an hour each. Like, I don't need to mess around with that. It'll be fun for a while, but I don't need to, like, you know, blast. Enchanting does feel, though, relatively good. I think I'm 95% sure I can put a tick by enchanting. The thing I do want to double check is, what does this give still? Is this fixed? Ah, it's gone down! The fucking hell's going on here? Wait, hold up. The shatter buff is even worse than it was before. Does that mean they've changed the nodes? It was 50-50-50 last build. Now it's 40-40-40. And it still doesn't correlate to what these say. You're meant to get 1 point of resourcefulness, plus 1 resourcefulness per point in this specialization. That's 30 resourcefulness. You're also meant to get 1 resourcefulness, 1 multicraft, 1 ingenuity from every point in this profession. So you should be getting, at minimum, it should be 60-60-60 at absolute minimum. 65. 75. 85-95. I
Okay. Puts a big question mark for me on whether the rest of it actually does what it claims to do as well. So yeah, this is a bit of a bait tree at the moment. It's a bit of a bait tree if it doesn't actually end up doing what it claims it's meant to be doing. Interesting. Take the buff off. 274. 274. Up to 314. So it is only adding 40 resourcefulness when the buff is active. The tooltip is doing what the tooltip says it is doing. But the spec trees are not going to do what the spec trees claim they're doing. Still. Half of what this is a lie. Shatter again to stack them? No, surely not. It just refreshes the buff, yeah. Yeah. Refreshes the buff, that's all. This has been an issue since Alpha. This hasn't worked since Alpha. And this was broken way back in Alpha as well. It's still just... Okay, so minus the shatter buff still being a bit of a lie. Minus profession tools, which is going to be a common thing, because it seems to be the last thing that they're going to fix. Enchanting also looks to be there or thereabouts. Aren't some of the spec points baseline not only whilst shattering? The tooltip isn't clear on that. Well, that's worth testing again. What I will say is that when I first got a sniff that this was broken, I did granularly check that. I was, you know, I put points into the tree a few points at a time and checked exactly what the points were doing, and I was never getting the +1 for each of the point that the tooltips here state you should be getting. So they weren't being added on baseline. I mean, they might have changed that now, but it's still, either way, it's still very, very unclear. I can't really be bothered to granularly level up an entire enchanter again just to double check that, but something's amiss somewhere. It's not my job to figure that out. But yeah. Still seems a bit broken. But it's one of those. It's one of those that, sure, the Spectres is a lie, but if it's a lie for everybody, it might bait people to putting more points into here, thinking they're getting more points out, and then be confused why they only get 40 when they think they should be getting 90 and whatever. But as long as the buff is actually doing what the buff says it's meant to do. So yes, buff up, you will get more stats. It's just not as powerful as the trees make out it should be. Alright, cool. Relatively content then that enchanting is 90% there. Borean leather is 12 gold apiece. Go on then.
Get on it. Heavy borean leather is used in a bunch of decor, so that's probably why. Right, who we looking at here? Who's this? Tailoring. See what tailoring's looking like. Crafting speed, multi-craft, resourcefulness, crafting speed, multi-craft. I need the recipe for the epic one of these. Means we need some Moxie Moxes. Moxie Moxes. We need some tailoring Moxie Moxes to get the recipe to make the epic version of that. So that we've got max build, so then we can test the yields of stuff if needs be. But let's see, have we got, let's double check, because I made this mistake last time of not actually being full build in here. We are full build. Are we guaranteeing everything? That's the first thing to double check. Bolts, yes and yes. Not much in it, which is fine. Yes. Easy business. We've got 400 skill with 50 points over. That's going to mean you can, in theory, actually start mass producing high quality bolts, probably without some of the profession gear still. Oh my god, can we go naked build nearly? Oh my god, you can actually, not that you're going to do this, because the amount of knowledge points needed to achieve this is actually disgusting, but you can in theory max produce bolts without any profession gear on. But that's not too much of an issue because it's the base level one. Be more problematic if you could do that with the imbued one. But you can't. Who be this? Chosen, how we doing? Welcome in. Thank you very much for the raid, my man. I hope you had a good stream. We've been poking around with professions today. They seem to... There has been some subtle changes behind the scenes that, of course, don't hit patch notes. Stuff starting to come together. Both jewel crafting and enchanting have had a few niggly bugs fixed, which is good. What did you get up to today? Leveling leatherworking yesterday was super expensive. Did all expansions? Yeah, some of the past expansions are way more expensive than others. No, Moxie's not used in the profession tools and accessories yet. Epic tools in midnight. Do we need some public event? You're probably referring to this. Where have they gone? You're hang on. You're probably referring to this, aren't you? Fused Vitality. Fused Vitality comes through the Abundance system, which is just a little mini game that you can play. The better you do, it's a 3-minute mini game. I absolutely need to do a video on this. Actually, it's a 3-minute long mini game. You get 8 tokens a week to play it. You get the tokens by just like farming, filling patron orders, whatever. Consider it a mini. It's a mini delve basically. I definitely need to do a video on this, don't I? I've not showcased it much on stream. But yeah, Fused Vitality is a reagent you can purchase from the Abundance Quartermaster or vendor or whatever you want to call them. Guaranteeable. Guaranteeable. This is our cape. 30 points there is enough to facilitate embellishment, secondary stats, and crest. 20 plus 5 plus 5. Yeah, 30 points is good enough there. 0 margin for error.
We hope to see that pattern on all of these. Should be a 30-point overplay in order to craft them at mythic quality. Mythic 5, quality 5. All of these look fine. This is our leveling stuff. See, this is weird. This is the weird difference, right? Tailors don't have the luxury of Oh no, wait, hang on. This is annoying. Oh, this is annoying. I can't make low quality bright linen bolts. Oh, flip. Okay, whatever. That's going to annoy me. I'll have to make them on another tailor. Yeah, the low level crafted gear is weirdly more difficult to make with tailoring. You have to try a lot harder to get it at rank 5. Whereas some of the other professions are banging out this stuff at quality 5 using low quality materials and no tools. There's a bit of an imbalance there, but at the moment I guess we can't complain too much, as long as we can at least make them. Oh, the lower tier stuff has... Oh, okay, that's... I'd not noticed that. Why is the recipe difficulty flex so much on those? Weird. Must be something to do with the spec trees. I need to go pay attention. What's going on here? Okay. Some of them are still broken. The fact that this is broken makes add embellishment, add secondary stats, add empowerment. Fudge duck is going on with these. I can't figure out where that error is going to come from. Slippers. Do we have a similar issue back here? No, the slippers, the end game slippers work well. So it's just a problem with this recipe. It's not going to be a spec tree thing. If it was a spec tree thing, it would show it on all pairs of boots. But the spec tree is doing what the spec tree says it should be doing because it works for these boots. So this recipe is scuffed. Okay. In-game stuff. That's not enough. That's not enough. Oh, no, because it comes pre-embellished, doesn't it? So the only thing you're doing is slapping 20 points on it. Yeah. So yeah, that is fine. By literally 1 point. That's fine. Imagine if lumbering had profession tools like cooking. Never say never. I kind of hope they don't, though. I kind of hope they don't. Just simply due to the fact that lumbering, it's nice that there is now just a basic, equally obtainable by anybody thing. It's absolutely what I kind of want herbalism and mining to go back to be, honestly. This is one of those areas where I have definitely changed my mind on this over time. When we saw herbalism and mining go and have spec trees and talent builds and profession tools and stuff, I thought that that would make gathering a little bit more fun for a little bit longer, which it maybe does, but what I hadn't considered back then was it took away the very simplistic entry-level form of goal making from everybody else, which is why I
I would rather them put gathering back to being, you know, relatively generic across the board. And lumbering has come in and is that, right? Excluding being a druid, you know, lumbering is the same for everybody. And I kind of like the fact that it is something that anybody can go and farm lumber, and you're kind of on an equal footing there. Because you don't need professions, you don't need profession tools, you don't need spec points, you don't need weekly logins, you don't need patron orders, right? You don't need to do any of the treadmill stuff. The fact that they added the treadmill to herbalism and mining means it's probably good for you if you do like the treadmill and you stay on the treadmill. But it means for somebody that turns up halfway through a season or on season 2 and wants to start doing herbing and mining, they've got 20 hours of basically working for free before they even hope to catch up with the people that have been doing it for a while. Which is maybe fair in a crafting profession where you want people to have expertise in certain areas, maybe. I don't think it works for gathering. You need professions to craft the decor. That's true, but you're also sort of given options there. If you don't want to mess around with all of the Dragonflight, the War Within, Midnight, crafting shenanigans, you can pick any old profession from any expansion that, for the most part, players might already have. And you're not dealing with stats or tools or specs or nothing. It's just the simple, get the materials, craft the thing, sell the thing. So I kind of like the fact that decor provides a path of goal making for people that don't want the more modern day hustle and bustle. I think the different levels of materials and crafting outputs have significantly overcomplicated things when it comes to professions. Yeah, that opinion is quite common. I kind of feel, though, that an added level of complexity was necessary when everybody got smushed into the same arena. When they added the region-wide auction house, you weren't just competing against the other handful of players on your realm. You all of a sudden were competing against absolutely everybody. They needed to step up the level of complexity to allow players to be able to stand out. Because you weren't competing against a handful, you were competing against many. The reality is that the region-wide auction house combined with the old school crafting system would just be completely pointless. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. You can't have 1 vial plus 2 herbs equals 1 potion on the region-wide auction house. I mean, there's one. My complaint with crafting going into season 2 and season 3 is that you're fighting over 1% margins with this level of complexity. All right, can you imagine what the margins would be if there wasn't this level of complexity? The margins would absolutely couldn't be closer to 0. It was already, you know, on the bigger servers, there was already the problem before we had the region-wide auction house. Alchemy had this problem for years. That if you go back to like BFA, if you go back to Legion, if you played on one of the bigger servers, you only made a profit on those bigger servers when you managed to get your materials cheaper than other people. That was the meta back then. The meta was not how much you can craft, and the meta wasn't trying to figure out your resourcefulness or your multi-craft procs and what your true crafting cost was. The meta back then was simple. Buy your materials at the cheapest possible price. And he who got his materials cheapest wins. Which meant you had to, you know, the meta was that you would buy your materials when they were cheapest during the week. then do your crafting, and then sell them on the reset day. My issue with a lot of what we see with the crafting stats and stuff, for example, is that Blizzard doesn't tell you what they do. It's really that simple. If Blizzard told people what they do, people would have a better chance of figuring it out. Resourcefulness doesn't tell you what it does. It never has. You have a 17.3% chance to use fewer tradable reagents. How many fewer? Right? You can't give me a 17.3. You can't go and give me one super detailed statistic without giving me the other statistic, which is, well, what does it save me when it procs? You've given me half. Blizzard only gives you half the information. So it's like, no wonder nobody knows what's going on. People have to rely on Craft Sim or creators' spreadsheets or making their own spreadsheets, or, you know, which is why most people are just like, oh, because Blizzard hasn't given you the information. You can't make that correct decision when the game doesn't tell you. Same with multicraft. If they don't tell you what's going on, if they don't tell you what's happening, how are you meant to know? You have a 28.4% chance. Why do I need such a granular level of information of what the chance is when it doesn't tell you what the chance to create additional items? Well, how many additional items? Like, the only way people like myself find this stuff out is through large quantities, humongous data sets of testing, and using, you know, averages from that data set. And then there's things like like disenchanting, for example, where even the spec trees tell you that this will increase your skill in disenchanting. There's no visible way to see your skill in disenchanting. So how do you know the numbers going up? It's the UI that is very much to blame for the lack of understanding that players have with this. If they did a better job showing you what was going on and telling you what was going on, I think a lot more people would go, oh, okay, that's what's happening. Oh, okay, I can math that out if I want to. I think it's perhaps they roll a die on how many get saved when those proc. No, I mean, resourcefulness, I can tell you exactly how resourcefulness works, but the resourcefulness is simple. It averages out to a 30% refund. But it can roll high, it can roll normal, or it can roll low. But it averages out to a 30% refund. The problem becomes when there isn't a nice equal third of a material that can be given back to you. So things like this, where you have only one piece of cloth going into it, the game can't give you a third of a piece of cloth. So the only way you get a piece of cloth back is when resourcefulness procs in the first place, which we do get told what happens when resourcefulness, how much resourcefulness will proc. It will proc 16.2% of the time. But if it rolls low and it only gives you a third of a linen bolt back, it just doesn't give you anything. It doesn't even show us if it procced. But it will make it look like, you know, when resourcefulness procs and it rolls low on silverleaf thread, well, then it will give you one silverleaf thread back. If it rolls high, it might give you 3 thread back. But it averages out over thousands of crafts to give you 30% of your materials back per proc. And then there's often spec trees now, which will increase that 30% average. Jewel crafting is one, actually, where you can improve the yield up to, I think, 45%. It's an average. But the game doesn't tell you any of this. You know, it's people like me that spend hours and hours and hours figuring this sort of stuff out, and then we just share the information with others. But most people will have absolutely no chance of ever figuring this out. That's the problem. All this definitely does go to make the professions more interesting. The professions are mini puzzles now, and if you enjoy figuring out the puzzle, then you can figure it out and it's enjoyable to do it. my issue more than anything else is that everything in the game now is seasonalized. You have season 1, season 2, season 3. We even refer to them as season 1, season 2, season 3. We have a new Mythic Plus season. We have a new PvP season. We have a new raid, which brings about a PvE season. The only thing that's not seasonalized is professions. And I think it really needs to be. Because without it being seasonalized, season 1, really good. Season 2, season 3, not so good. Because the expectation going into season 2 is you've got fully optimized max build, and it goes back to the old school way of you just, he who gets his materials cheapest wins. Because everybody's got the exact same build, everybody's got the exact same stats by season 2. So unless they either seasonalize things, they could seasonalize things by giving you a cap to. I know nobody likes the word cap. But if they gave you a cap to the amount of knowledge points you could obtain per season, let's say there's 500 knowledge points in a spec tree, they give you access to 100 points in season 1. You can gain those 100 points at your pace. If you want to blast it in week 1, off you go. But you're sort of limited to how far you can go in season 1, and then for season 2. They raise the cap by another 100 points and allow you to respec. That would mean that players could go and, reshuffle and rebuild, and it would basically create a seasonal feel to the professions. But the only way that they could do that is if they plan ahead for that happening. You'd have to... you'd have to be very careful about how you do that, because lots of stuff at the moment, you need 200 knowledge points to be able to mass produce something. So they'd kind of have to get that right. They'd have to plan for that to happen way ahead of time. But I don't think they will. The NA servers seem to be stable now. Well, that's good. That's good, as long as people can see their characters at least and log in. Is there nowadays any good single source, like a Wikipedia page or a YouTube video, where all of these mechanical details would be gathered? Feels like it's so all around on Reddit, Discords, etc. Would be nice to have a single source to remind yourself about the details. There isn't, no. And I think the problem is it's not necessarily in most people's best interests to openly share that too much. Because that's the skill gap for a lot of players. A lot of the players that fully understand this actively choose not to share the information, because when you know how to utilize it, you have an advantage over those that don't. It's the PvP aspect of goal making. And another thing that is why the region-wide auction house has actually made the sharing of this sort of stuff a lot less. You got me and Goldzon and Kachak and Zanzaful and, the more retail-focused goal makers out there, content creators out there that will share a little bit of this. But there's huge amounts of people that know all of this. They've figured all of this out, but they don't say nothing. They keep it to themselves. You want formulas, you can see them in CraftSim or research CraftSim Discord a bit. Resourcefulness is quite simple. Multicraft is a bit more complex since it's not a uniform distribution. Yeah, Multicraft I think has it's more based on the base quantity of an item that can produce in the first place. So if an item only produces 1, like a bright linen bolt, Multicraft is a multiplier that's based upon the quantity of 1. So it's it starts to get a bit tricky when you start looking at things like potions that produce 5. Then it's a multiplier on top of 5. This is when potions, for example, you can see like times 16 procs and stuff happen from time to time. When it rolls high. I think when you dig into the game files, I think, don't quote me on this because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there's 5 different tiers for a multi-craft proc. But yeah, people figure this out, or they dig into the game files and extract it from the raw game data. Even if the game's not going to tell you, obviously it has to be happening behind the scenes, so it's got to be coded in the game somewhere. people data mine and find that stuff out. But the thing I think is relatively unfair is the fact that the game just doesn't tell you half of this information. It'd be fairer if it told if it told, you know, if it was told to people at least, but right, where did I get to? We were looking through most of these. I get wildly distracted. They're good distractions though, I'm not complaining. Okay, well these are still absolutely cooked, aren't they? These recipes are cooked. These still need a rebalance for sure. The green tier, uncommon tier stuff is all fine. The rare stuff though is hella busted still. Even the rare stuff requiring... The rare stuff... How is it... This seems to have gone backwards. How is it that the rare stuff is now requiring finishing reagents and concentration? Okay, that's double broken. What do the epic ones look like? Oh, they've... Okay, that's weird. How and why have they got the epic... How have they got the numbers right on the epic ones, but somebody didn't think to get the numbers right on the rare ones? Okay, maybe a reminder's needed. Let's check I'm not just being an absolute dumb. Tailoring's the real bolt slot. Well, tailoring's issue is the fact that it just requires a monster amount of knowledge points to do anything particularly well. Because they've decided to put plus skill in like 3 of the 4 trees. And bury it at the end of nodes as well. It's going to be an uphill battle for tailors that want to mass produce anything. But everybody else don't need to worry about it. So we're kind of assuming that all of these are just a little bit frazzled, but the rest of it looked fine. Spell threads, guaranteeable. Strong candidate for concentration, assuming that is that the spell threads are used en masse. Can't see why they wouldn't be. Bags will be a good consumer of the low quality stuff. Standard bags. Oh, that's where all the fantastic fur's going. Okay. In the standard bags. Interesting how the fur goes into the standard bags, but not the big boy bags. Okay. Well, more places for this to be consumed is good. Be mental to use finishing reagents on these, but sure.
Flush Silver Moon bed. Decor is going to consume a lot of the low quality bolts, which is nice. Keep a steady demand on the cooldowns. I mean, I'm 50-50, you know, about tailoring from the bolt cooldown thing. It's nice that the bolts are used in more places. But the thing that jumped out at me is that the need for high quality bolts hasn't really increased. There's slightly more demand for the low quality bolts because it goes into decor. But the actual demand for the high quality bolts hasn't really gone up. That's not going to really change anymore. So there's a wider market for people to use just basic mats and do press the button on cooldown. There's not really a greater market for people to actually optimize and get good at this. But it should still mean that, you know, more people can spin up some relatively straightforward tailors with 70 knowledge points and do alright. We looked at that in a bit of detail a few streams back. PvP stuff is a weird area of expertise because realistically nobody cares. You find the occasional order for the high-end one of these, but not that frequently. Nor do people care about quality on this particularly. Nor do PvPers actually buy this. The interesting thing for me about the PvP gear more than anything else is that people buy it because it's fresh level 90 gear. People buy the PvP set in order to be able to get into LFR. Notice any increase in the amount of decor you're selling? I seem to have sold a ton more. I have still been seeing... I've been seeing a relatively steady amount, or an expected amount of decor sales. But I haven't been doing anything more or less fancy. I've been finding the same sort of amount of sales. Calculating lumber value, deducting the material cost. And if it's hovering 150 to 100 lumber value, it's hard to lose on that. Yeah, lumber's really difficult to lose on at all right now. How much new crafted decors they're going to be? It seems to be like between 5 and 8 recipes for most professions. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6 for tailoring. I've learnt these recipes on these tunes, but 99% of the time they're either learnt at skill 80 from the profession trainers, or they are bought for 150 moxie a piece. Wardrobe enhancements. These feel wildly expensive. Like, massively expensive for what they actually are. And they don't really go to serve a huge purpose. These are another one that are going to primarily consume rank 1 bolts. But you can't sell these. These are all warbound. Once again, more warbound cosmetic. Warbound crafted cosmetics. I don't see what the danger or problem is in opening these up to be put in the auction house. Why do they need to be warbound? Can you order these? I can't. Can you order these? Blood tempered cape. You can order them. They're work orderable. But there's no, like, it's another one of those items that has no place being a work order. Because there's no customization on it. Why do you need to work order it? Put it on the auction house. Yeah, please use the work order system. Yeah. Please use this system that We are still 3 expansions in, desperately trying to get people to use, even though it's completely trivial in most cases. We still require you to provide all materials on a public order. I tend to try and buy out the cool looking stuff, but I've recently been watching house building videos and buying the most commonly used stuff. Oh, that's quite clever. Doing your deep market research into which crafted decor might actually be of interest to people. I noticed that the glass table is popular for fish tanks. Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. That's a level of research I'm not going to get into. That's quite clever, though. I respect the hustle. What goal making you most excited about ahead of midnight, even if it's not the best, just from a fun perspective? To be honest, I'm already doing it. It's decor. I'm already doing it. Farming lumber, crafting decor, flipping decor is, at this rate, the thing that will make me hundreds of millions of gold in midnight. From a fun perspective, jewel crafting is always my favorite profession, and it's because it's a maths puzzle, and more of a maths puzzle than most people are usually willing to figure out. Hence why everybody is always desperately asking everybody else if they have a prospecting calculator. It's a maths puzzle that's quite fun. I've always enjoyed jewel crafting. The way that the game has been over the last 2 expansions now, I'm more excited to see what weird niche way that they inject of making gold. Look at Dragonflight. We had the revamp of Nax and farming Nax, Scourge Stones and Lamented Crusadery stuff. I really enjoyed the mini attunement that you had to do to unlock all of that. That was really fun. I genuinely think that's one of the best pieces of content Blizzard's added to the game for quite a while. And it was arguably just a revamp of an old piece of content. Adding things like Dracothists was kind of fun, even though I lost my ass on Dracothists. Poor decision. What have we had in the War Within? Yeah, I don't know. Thaumaturgy was fun. I kind of wish they had built on Thaumaturgy rather than just carved out, but it was clearly too much for simple minds. Yeah, Mechanica was one that almost blindsided me. Mechanica turned up and was one of those very, very interesting ways to go and make a whole bunch of gold, which required more out-of-the-box thinking in order to optimize. Even though it was predominantly farming, like Mechanica for the most part pushed me back into an area of the game that I always enjoyed, but I'd kind of put down for a while, which was the multi-account play style. So we got the 5 accounts back up and running. It also gave me the incentive to figure out an area of the game which was like, you know, boosting. We did a whole bunch. We boosted like 80 characters, I think it was, to level 80 in the space of like 3 weeks. Self-boosted them, which was kind of fun. Leveled up a demon hunter, got him decked out, used him to boost a whole bunch of alts, then went to use those alts to try and make gold. We harvested the Undermine for its Mechanica, made probably 20 mil off Mechanica pets and mounts and stuff. Import export coming to housing.
Yeah, I mean that will spike the interest in crafted decor without question. You know, the when the popular when the viral designs pop off, the auction house will get stripped of any piece of crafted decor that is part of those designs. Done with both my houses. I've spent so much time on them that I don't want to remove anything, but this change will basically be making a different house all the time. Yeah, some people have made correlations to like other games that have done player housing, or comparisons to other games that have done player housing. And I think a lot of people from outside the WoW circle are looking at what WoW has to offer right now and are still hesitant. I think a lot of people are still quite hesitant because it does look, when you compare it against other games, still very limiting. But if you've been in the World of Warcraft circle at all in the last 20 years, you'll probably jump back in and have a look. So, and like I said, it's something new. Every expansion, focus on the thing that's new, and there's always loads of gold to be made with it. Shadowlands Legendaries, oh, they were new. Loads of gold to be made in them. Oh, look, an entire new crafting system in Dragonflight. Loads of gold to be made with it. Oh, look, concentration is turned up in the War Within. That's new. Loads of gold was made with it. Say hello to Decor. Mailbug happened again on a different realm. Ate the same housing item. Only new plugin has been woos. Careful now, nothing in... His ears were burning. Would be cool if they had a housing transmog system. You could have a house theme for different yearly events. Oh, well, you know, you can bet your ass that they'll do, like, theme sets in the store and stuff. Yeah, without question. All of that's coming. This is clearly the first implementation that we're seeing of housing. And it's there's a 10-year timeline for housing, I'm sure. It messed up the Pringles WoW promotion. The reward code is on the outside of the can. It's a one-time use code, of course. Can't you just go to the website anyway? It's a no purchase necessary. No purchase necessary claim anyway. You can just go to the website, I think. Okay, so where do we think we stand with tailoring? Tailoring looks okay. I do need to get these recipes, which I can get from Lorendal in Silvermoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what, 750 moxie I need to buy all of those. Then I can craft them for all the characters that need them. That means I need some moxie. Pretty much, it seems to be, if moxie is offered, it's 30 moxie a go. Which, if we are led to assume rare profession tools will need 300 moxie. That's 10 patron orders dishing out moxie will get you a profession tool. They haven't added moxie yet, by the way, before people scream and shout. I'm theorizing what it's going to take to get the moxie you need. Between 5 and 10 moxie, between 5 and 15 moxie on the first time crafts. The basic ones at 10. What add-ons do you use for roots and farming? Also, are the roots available in Discord? I use the roots add-on. My roots aren't available in Discord. No, they're part of the decor guide on Patreon. Make some of these quickly, and we can harvest the rest of these first-time crafts. Ten. We got 190. I wonder if they've added any moxie to the goodie bag yet either as well. Has anybody checked that this week? There's oh, interesting. Wait. What's going on there then? We didn't get any Artisan's Enchanting Hat. Wait, why did we make kit twice? Odd. These are meant to be first crafts only. I wonder if I balls that up. Right, well, I definitely don't have 75 recipes here in order to harvest first-time craft bonuses. Touch annoying. These give first-time crafts? They do. Whoa, what about that for a resource proc? Okay, so for the purpose of mathing shit out, you can basically assume you're getting 10 moxie for every first-time craft. Insufficient reagents and fur. It's probably. Yes, I know this is mental. I'm doing flipping patron orders on the test realms, but there's not many other easier ways to get the moxie.
I should arguably do all of them for the knowledge points, actually, thinking about it. Tormented Tantalium. One knowledge point from the flickers. That's still a thing. 2 knowledge points from the glimmers. No, Moxie is not on the tools yet. I'm going to use the word yet, because I'm still 95% sure it's coming. Oh, that was one of the finishing reagents. Acid, welcome in. Welcome, welcome. Hello to you too. Aha! Decor. Providing the lumber. You fucking better do. How frustrating is that going to be when you see a profitable patron order turn up and they haven't provided the lumber? Somebody going to get hurt real bad. Oh, flipping hell, I'm missing loads here. What are we missing? Carving canines. Right, how much moxie have we been able to harvest from that little yield then? How's the profession? Will it be easier in midnight? Easier to level. Well, easier in what way? I don't really agree that the professions have been simplified. I just believe the professions have been minimized. There's just less to do with the professions. They're not really any easier. Just less in them. Multicraft matrix. High quality void tempest hide being spat out from these payout bags. You can get high quality materials from these as well. I've not looked at these in great detail. High quality reagents. Whew. Can you still combine 5 of these to make the big one? Yeah, combine 5 multicraft matrices to create a multicraft manifold. Oh, these are soulbound now. Oh, interesting. Those are soulbound. The skill ones can still be sold. The multicraft, the ingenuity, and I'm going to presume the resourcefulness ones then. Did we get any of the basic resourcefulness ones? Doesn't look like it. Oh, interesting. I didn't know they'd made those soulbound. Well, now I do. Huh, fun. Are the manifold versions then the ones you can sell? I not have any of them on its character. No, these are bind on pickup as well. Oh, interesting. So there's no market in those. So they're going to have to be both farmed for and consumed. That's an interesting twist. That basically means that there's no real option to use there's no real option to use finishing reagents when you're doing concentration, unless you are also banging out flipping patron orders, which you won't be doing. Oh, that's interesting twist. Was not expecting them to make those soulbound. I was expecting those to be tradable and have some sort of market value against them so that you could math in whether they were useful to use or not, but I guess not then. Alright. 535, that's nearly enough. Hang on, let me craft a few more. I'm sure I can get the last ones I need. $10 on the first time crafts on these as well. $73 level 80 concentration army ready for midnight. Hope to get a few mills the first month. If you've got access to the beta, you definitely want to be doing a little bit of investigation to see where they're best used. There isn't that many options that will actually make gold. I think there's probably going to be a humongous saturation on concentration, though. I'm I'm so much of the opinion that selling shovels to all these concentration alts is where the money's going to be, because there's thousands of people looking to use hundreds of alts for concentration. The vast majority of those are all going to try and do exactly the same thing. I think selling shovels to all of these people is the way to actually make millions. It's not good to hear. Yeah, it's not what people are going to want to hear. I don't sugarcoat shit though. Playing the role of Nvidia here might be the best way to make lots of money. It's working for them. Yeah, yeah. The thing for me, right? The thing for me is that let's say 100 people have made 100 alts, right? 100 people. 100 people is nothing, by the way. Think how many people play this goddamn game. If only 100 people have made 100 alts, right? You're looking at 10,000 engineers enchanters being span up day one, right? We looked at the concentration builds. You're still going to need a couple of hundred dust to level enchanting to the point where you can press your buttons and, you know, that's just like absolutely filthy amounts of like base materials that are going to go into leveling up these concentration characters.
This is where I think if everybody is zigging, you should zag the direction of figuring out disenchanting and spend your life sat there disenchanting, because you'll be able to sell dust like quicker than you can blink. And so the trick there is really figuring out, well, what is it you can disenchant that generates you the most amount of dust in the least amount of time? That's where cash money is going to be at, I'm telling you. Because disenchanting is a time-consuming process, and it's laborious. And the reality is flipping how many people want to sit there in the first few weeks of a brand new expansion doing this on the disenchant button. And it locks your account up doing that for the most part while you're doing it as well. Like you can't be out playing the game particularly whilst you're doing it. I'm really not sold on the theory that concentration is going to make people lots of money. It will make some. It will definitely make some. I'm not saying it will make none. It will make some, but I really don't think it's the cash cow people think it is. I'll be happy to be wrong. But I think people who've got these monstrous alt armies need to be looking at alternative ways to utilize them as well. The barrier to entry is so low on concentration this time, because you haven't got to reach that point where you can guarantee quality 2. You can just dive straight in. All you need is the recipe. To a Blizzard item specific bug eats the item when opening the mail without any add-ons. Huh. Interesting. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? Bugs in the game at the moment. Elven barrel decor item. Okay. I haven't got easy. I mean, I probably have 15 of them there now in my inventory. Then in my decor collection, I bet I've got loads of those. And I bet I now own a bunch of them, because I bet it probably did it to me when I was relisting all my auctions this morning and didn't notice. I'm gonna leave it there for today, I think, boys and girls. It is Friday. I mentioned earlier that the wife is away at the weekend. She's actually taking 2 of the 3 dogs as well. So I have less physical responsibilities this weekend, other than keeping myself alive, meaning I can probably get quite a bit done. I probably won't be streaming the next couple of days. But you can come lurk in Discord, check out what's going on there. I'll be available to chat. We'll be back on Monday, though. From this point on, I think we are pretty much unanimously in just prep for midnight mode now, honestly. Pre-patch event is done. No real significant distractions other than doing a bit of decor stuff, which we can usually bang out in half an hour to an hour at the beginning of the stream anyway. We'll start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. This build, I'll go through some of the other professions as well. So far, it looks like some of the little weird bugs are being smoothed out. I've yet to make it to inscription. I've yet to make it to blacksmithing. They're 2 professions that feel real broken. So maybe they need. We might need some extra love on those. But we can start considering builds and what we do and when we do it and stuff. It should all be lots of planning from this point on, I reckon. It's also free weekend this weekend. I don't know how well this has been advertised. If you watched the announcement thing last night, you'll know of it. Otherwise, it could be easy to miss. There's a free weekend this weekend, meaning any account that you've got that has had game time in the past but doesn't right now, you can log them on and play for free this weekend on them. Maybe a good way to, you know, clean them out, level a few characters up if you need, transfer some gold over, do whatever you need to do on those accounts. Big pizza order and just a merge fed on Monday. Yes, something like that, maybe. The alternative is I could probably use the next couple of days to actually catch up on IRL shit. Stupid things like I haven't cleaned this studio properly, and like it's not Asmongold level filthy, but me plus 3 dogs in here every day, it's dusty if nothing else. I should probably do some adulting, who knows. But thank you for joining this week. It's been an interesting week, a little bit all over the place to be fair, but it'll be a little bit smoother, a little bit more normality the next few weeks. And it's buyer made for gold. Yeah, I can't see running that past the wife going well. Anyway, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, boys and girls. I'm going to raid you all into the VOD channel. You can lurk in there. There's a bit of a giveaway. There's up to 1 million gold up for grabs in the VOD channel at the moment. Get your entries in, get your tickets purchased for that. I'll draw that on Monday. So I'll draw it live on stream on Monday. There'll be three winners of some gold. It is unfortunately only open to EU at the moment, with the fact that I don't have gold on the NA realms. But yeah, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Let me get the raid set up. Team YouTube, of course, thank you very much for your viewership as well. I can't raid you anywhere on Team YouTube. You'll have to navigate wherever you plan to navigate. Here's a crazy ass idea. Why don't I just give you the link to the VOD channel on Twitch? There you go. Go say hi. Go say hi. Boys and girls, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Peace.